I made this decision today. I'm going to do the 2020 Asian Readathon next month. I really enjoyed doing my last readathon, the Reading Rush, last weekend, and I thought I'm so into Asian literature at the moment, so I had a look at my TBR and it already fits 80% of the challenges, and I can make the book that doesn't fit it if I really push it. So I'm pushing it. The readathon goes for a month, so essentially this will be my May TBR minus one fantasy book that I just can't fit into the challenges, which is going to be Mistborn, of course. The first challenge is read a book by an Asian author. For this one, I'm going to pick Severance by Ling Ma, which I just mentioned in my last video. I just bought this book. I'm very excited about this premise as it has to do with a pandemic specifically, and I want to read a book about a pandemic, so next month it's happening. Really excited about this one. I also think that this is her debut novel, actually. So next is read a book featuring an Asian character or written by an Asian author who you can relate to. This one is the one that I had to stretch. I didn't want to change my actual TBR that I already had planned for next month too much, so I decided to take the first one, which is read a book that has an Asian character, even though it is not by an Asian author, and that would be Heartstopper Volume 3. I think his name's Tao. He's like the best friend of one of the main characters. So I relate to Tao because he's this best friend of one of the main characters. He's in high school, and in volume 2 he got a little feisty and protective over his best friend, and that's definitely how I was in high school. I was so protective, so I related to him a lot in that last volume and how he is as a feisty 16-year-old or 15-year-old. Next is read a book featuring an Asian character or written by an Asian author who is different from you. For this one, I've decided to pick And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini. Khaled Hosseini is an author that was born in Afghanistan. This book's been on my TBR for a really long time because I definitely enjoyed The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns a lot by him. They're two of my favorite novels ever, especially A Thousand Splendid Suns. That book changed my life. So this has been on my TBR for a really long time to get to. I really have high hopes for this, which is not usually a good thing. Usually if I have high hopes for a book, I never enjoy it as much as I should. So I probably should lower my expectations, but he's just so good. Obviously, this author is very different from me because he's from Afghanistan and I'm white. And lastly, read a book recommended by an Asian. I haven't had any Asians just recommend me a book recently because that's just not what my Asian friends do. So I'm thinking like I'm just going to pick a book that I know is highly renowned in general. It's a classic. So I thought like this book has probably been recommended by an Asian person throughout history. This book is also on the official recommendations list for this readathon. So I'm picking The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea by Mishima. Vintage classic. I've owned this for a bit. I picked it up for 10 bucks randomly, just liked the cover because I love the Great Wave and the title really intrigued me. For some reason, Japanese writing specifically, I really like. Yes, that's mostly Murakami that I'm talking about, but there has been other Japanese authors I've also read that I've really enjoyed their writing, but this just sort of gave me some Murakami vibes, and I really love Murakami, so I felt like maybe I could branch out, read some other classic Japanese literature and get into it, and this felt like a really good start. I know apparently this is really intense, I've heard, but I like intense stuff usually. Like, horror is my favorite genre. I love dystopians. I love stuff that's a little messed up and weird. I also have heard that apparently it has some animal abuse, and I really can't deal with that type of stuff very well, so we'll have to see if that ruins the book for me. Hoping it won't. Really excited to finally get to this. It's also quite short. For some reason, all these other books, ginormous. But if I can read all this in a month, then you know what? I will consider myself a full-pledged booktuber from now on, because that's just me doing a full 180 in life. I usually read 20 books a year. I'm happy to read 25 books in a year. All of a sudden, I'm reading 4 books a month, 5 books a month sometimes, 6 books a month I think I've read this year at some point. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I really feel like I can probably actually read all these in the month of May. I would like to do a wrap up actually on how I feel about all these books, because I actually am quite excited to get to them all, and I think they're all going to be very interesting, especially these two, Kalidoseni's and Mishima's. I've been waiting a while to get to these two books, and these authors are two authors I'm very interested and excited about. I feel like I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on this one. If I'm actually specifically going to talk about my May TBR, my May TBR is this Readathon TBR plus the Wall of Ascension. That would be my May TBR. So we'll see how we go with that. Okay, I'll see you for the month of May very soon.